What's up, you guys? Preston James here from the Laughing Buddha Recording Studio. Just wanted to drop a quick video on an intro video to Pro Tools and adding a few tracks. So how to start a session and adding a couple tracks. What kind of tracks, you may ask? We're going to add a stereo audio track, a mono audio track, and a stereo instrument track, as well as a master fader track. Keep it simple today. And then with more videos to come and to follow, I will go more in detail with different things in Pro Tools, as well as how I record, how I mix, and the whole damn thing. All right, you guys, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to open up Pro Tools. Pro Tools loading, Pro Tools loading. All right, so by the way, real quick, if anybody's watching this video that knows what this is and knows how to get rid of this box that keeps popping up, I would really appreciate it. I've had this going for like the last few months and nowhere can I find how to get rid of this. I've talked to people. They all say they do the same thing. I've deleted every single file and folder that has to do with this ADA flanger that I could find, and it still won't go away. And I cannot do it from the app either. So I'm stuck. All the rest of them are fine, but I did a trial for this flanger, which is actually pretty dope, by the way, but I cannot get rid of it. So any advice and any help and support with that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so we're just going to quit that. All right, let's see. All right, so the dashboard, the opening dashboard. All right, so what we have here first is we have session and sketch. I've actually never used sketch. I don't actually know what that is. I know that it's fairly new for the most part, but I haven't used it. Could be something cool, but that's not what we're doing today. We're doing session. Yeah. So what do we have over here? We have new, which is what we're going to do. We have recent. That'll bring up anything that you've done recently. I do not know what the track count is of how many it keeps track of, but I know that it's at least 10. And you can just pull up your most recent sessions and pull it up from there like that. Okay. Cloud projects, that's cool because you can collaborate with people in different states, different neighborhoods, different countries, different continents. I think that's a great tool to have. Getting started and in-app tutorials. I think this is super beneficial for people, especially like you guys starting out and getting used to a new DAW, is that like me even giving this tutorial and this intro to Pro Tools, it's like there's multiple videos on intros on an intro to Pro Tools and different DAWs. But if you hear it from different people, sometimes we're more receptive to other people than we are others. We're more receptive to some people than we are other people. And that's just how, our subconscious and our psyche works. So if you watch some of these videos, these in-app tutorials and some of this and read some of this information and watch the videos in the getting started section, I think that it could really benefit you in different ways more. And on top of watching some videos on YouTube from dope motherfuckers like me. All right, so yeah, check those out when you get a chance. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to name our session. So let's name our session. Pro Tools tutorial. Let's do Pro Tools intro tutorial. All right, cool. Now, we can hit this and we can create from a template. We are not going to create from a template. I don't have a template. They have example templates in here for you if you want to use any of these. They're actually pretty cool. I have used post-production before, which is like mixing. And then you have ones that's like music. They have instrument tracks set up in there, audio tracks. And it kind of gives you an idea of what a layout looks like for these different areas and these different instruments. So that's actually a cool way to start too. I think with anything, getting used to anything, the best way to learn something is get in, get your hands dirty, and just kind of fuck around. See what's going on. Play with things. Find out what's learn by trial and error. Learn by experience, right? Epistemology. I like philosophy a lot. Epistemology is learn by experience. Okay. So if you get a chance, go in there, create a template, click right here from template group and kind of click one of these and just see what happens. And then go in there and kind of mess around. And then it also gives you an idea of how somebody else routes and sets up a session. Okay, because you can only learn so much from different people on YouTube. Again, many different perspectives are the way to go. Okay, first little dialog box we have down here below this is file type. There's only two. There's WAV, BWF, WAV, or AIFF. I've personally never used AIFF. I have friends who have used AIFF or do use AIFF. There is no audible difference between a WAV file and an AIFF file, so it really doesn't matter. WAV is the most common, so I stick with WAV. Again, haven't used AIFF and haven't had a reason to, so I don't see why we're going to change it now. So we're going to stick with WAV. And then sample rate. All right, sample rate. So sample rate basically is taking, how do I want to say this? I want to say it's like the analog information and putting it into digital information. So what does that mean? So your DAW, digital audio workstation, and your analog information is like your vocals from a microphone, your guitars, your bass, your actual instruments, your physical things, your physical instruments. Like, have you heard of analog gear? Like people using preamps and compressors. That's analog, that's tangible, it's physical. And then converting it to the digital realm or into your digital audio workstation. Basically, what that means is how clear is that picture or how clear is that information from the physical, the tangible, the analog to the digital. How clear is that picture? So the higher you go, the more clear that picture is. Now, how deep that gets, well, let's find out. It gets deep to 192 kilohertz. So that's pretty deep and pretty clear. I use 44.1, which is the basic one. A lot of people use, even a lot of professional artists use that and professional engineers. So, and like big time engineers. So there's not really a big difference to the average listener. There is a difference, but there's not that much of a difference, especially if when you're on the mixing end and like the post-production phase, if you're doing things correctly and well, I don't think there's that much of a difference. But don't get me wrong, there is a difference, but a lot of people won't be able to tell. So the most that I've ever done is 48. Plus, you also have to have the right gear and the interface to be able to run smoothly anyways, like a 96 sample rate or 192. So I use 48, and that's pretty standard. 44.1 and 48, pretty standard. All right. So, and I might do a more in-depth tutorial or video on that in the future. Hit me up in the comments if you think that would be beneficial. Again, there's other videos out there too, but I would love to do one if you want me to. So that's possible as well. All right, what's next? Bit depth. All right, so what is bit depth? Bit depth is like you're in a room. Like if you go into a room and you see the floor and you see the ceiling, from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top, that's how much dynamics or audio information, the audible sound that you can get. So the higher you go with bit depth, so like right now we're at 24, we go to 32, that room just got bigger and your dynamics got more, your dynamics got more dynamic, the music got more dynamic. So there's more range there. There's more dynamic range is what they say. And basically what that means is that you have more headroom, more space to get loud, and more room for air or room to clip before you're clipping, So once you start clipping, it starts getting a little distorted, which actually is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. There's ways of actually clipping on purpose to make it sound a certain way. A little distorted actually sounds kind of cool. That's also a different topic for a different video. But to wrap that up in a bow, that is to say, bit depth is how much dynamic range you can fit with your audio in your session. I use 32-bit float. Most people use 24-bit. There's nothing wrong with that. And then 16-bit float is what CDs use or did use. If anybody even knows what that is anymore. So I can't even tell you the last time I listened to a CD. I know I have them. I just can't remember the last time I listened to one. But 24-bit is perfectly fine. And 32-bit is what I use. There's a guy I was just listening to a few weeks ago. I was at some music conference. And this guy was talking about the difference between 24-bit and 32-bit. And he basically did a bunch of examples. And more than half the people, professional engineers in this room, got it wrong. He asked people to identify which one was 32-bit and which was 24-bit, and they got it wrong. So there's lots of arguments out there and lots of debates about how much that actually does matter within the context of your average listener listening to music, other than like engineers in a room and nerds like me who kind of get down to the nitty gritty with this stuff. All right, so cool. That's it. If you have questions about that too, I'll give you as much information I can. Again, hit me up in the comments and I'll answer whatever I can. All right, so the last box here is I/O settings. Let me put this thing on for you. I/O settings. So what is I/O settings? I is inputs, O is outputs. So your inputs and output settings. By default, Pro Tools does last used. So whatever you used in your last session for your parameters for your ins and outs and your buses, we'll go over that in a different video, is what Pro Tools is going to suggest that you use just because you're familiar with it and that's what you chose to use the last time you were in there. For this session, we're going to do stereo mix. Stereo mix is basically starting it from scratch, tabula rasa, blank slate, start clean. We're going to do the default setup. Next is interleaved. Excuse me. I've never checked this box. I've never seen the reason to do so. Except for, and let me go back real quick and talk about bit depth. Bit depth, the higher bit depth that it is, it also takes up more space. More space because the file size is a little bit bigger, right? And you want to save as much space as you can on your, if you're saving to your desktop or your laptop, you definitely want to save as much space as you can. All right, so now interleaved. What does interleaved mean? It basically just means that your stereo files, when you export stereo files in Pro Tools, and when you have stereo files, it reads it as interleaved, like together as a stereo file, or it separates it and gives it left and right. So it'll export your stereo file as a left and a right file. So then you put those together, right? And then it creates a stereo file. I've never touched it. I've never had a problem with it. So we're just going to leave it as it is. There are instances where you want to use it, especially when you're in a session and when I'm with artists and they want their Pro Tools session. What I'll do is I will put all the tracks together. And when I export all the tracks individually, I interleave all the tracks together. But usually I just leave it unchecked. Okay, so prompt for location. We don't need to worry about that. That's basically just saying, we'll just ask you for a location. The last one that we have here is location. This is the most important part because you need to remember where you saved your session and your files. The most important thing for an engineer or for somebody that's going to be consistently making music and working with people is to stay organized. I mean, I think staying organized in general is important, but even more so when you're dealing with a bunch of different files, especially when you're working with clients. You need to stay organized. It's more professional. You can find things faster. It proves to be a smoother and better workflow. So location. I keep all my stuff on an external hard drive. I think, again, that's better because you don't have to put all that storage and all that space or take up that space on your laptop or your desktop. You just put it on your external hard drive and it saves everyone a headache. So yeah, so being organized, very important. Okay, I've saved this in my external hard drive under Studio and YouTube. All right, so last but not least, let's open up a session. All right, so here is their opening session in Pro Tools. I remember when I first saw this screen, it was so overwhelming. There's so many different things going on here. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to start a track. All I wanted to do was just make some music, make some noise, start jamming out, make a drum beat, start singing or rapping on it, and then putting some other stuff on there. And just, I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that Pro Tools and this screen was not the easiest way to let me do that because I had no idea. And when I started using Pro Tools, it was before a lot of tutorials were out on YouTube. So I had no idea what I was doing. So I literally had to sit there and just start clicking on things and finding out how to do stuff. So, and over in the right corner, you're going to see my beautiful face. So we're not really going to be needing that part of the screen for this video. So yeah. All right, so the first thing that we want to do, like I said at the beginning of the video, is we're going to be adding a stereo audio track. And the best way that we can do that for now is we're going to go up to track, click track, and we're going to hit new. Now there is a shortcut key to this. There's a lot of shortcut keys for Pro Tools, and I will do a video on that as well, because that too proves to be a smoother workflow and a better workflow. because the smoother and better you can work, the faster and the more efficient, the better off for everybody, yourself, your clients, whoever. So, but for now, just starting, we're just going to go up here and click. And just in case you do want to know, it's Shift Command N. That's going to pull up this dialog box. So if I do this, Shift Command N, it's going to show you this box. So I said we're going to start with an audio stereo track. So we can see here it already says audio, so that's already selected for us. Cool. Over here, create, basically how many tracks do you want to do? We just want one. We're going to click this. It says new, and we're going to do stereo. A stereo, one stereo audio track. Samples and not ticks. That's more for MIDI information, so we don't need that. We want to say samples, not ticks. And then right here is the name, so we can name it. So right now, we're going to name it beat. And then we're going to hit create. The reason I'm calling it beat is because for most of my clients, when they come in here and they want to sing or rap on a song or a beat or an instrumental, it's a 2-track or a stereo track. They call it a 2-track just because it's left and right. So it's 2, right? 1, 2, which creates a stereo track. So it's a 2-track, but it's a stereo track. And then what they do is they send me that stereo track or that instrumental, that beat, and then I pull it up and then I throw it on a stereo track. All right, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So like this, a client will send me the beat, and then I'll pull it up like this, and then let's see, we'll give it a listen, make sure the information's there. Loud, but it's there. All right, definitely loud. Again, I like to be super organized. I get really nitty-gritty with this stuff, and I will color code everything and label everything just so I know where everything's at, and I can have a smoother, better, more efficient workflow. All right, so to color code this, I can come over here and just double click, and I like my 2 tracks or my stereo track pink. I do not know why, I just do, and I have a color for everything. Like guitars are red, my master is maroon, my lead vocal track, which you're about to see, is like a certain blue. Yeah. So anyways, color coding, great thing. Great way to be organized too. All right, so we have a stereo audio track loaded up, ready to go with a beat on there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another track. So you can go ahead, why don't you go ahead and try Shift Command N. All right, and now we're going to add, and now we don't need to touch anything. It's already set up. We have one mono audio track and samples, and we're going to call this, come over here to name, delete that, and we're going to call it vocal lead. All right, cool. Now I'm going to double click here. I'm going to do my blue that I like for vocals, my lead vocals. And now what would happen is an artist would sing or rap on this beat. I would play this and they would sing and rap on this track. Usually I'll load 6 to 8 tracks just right from the start, just to have tracks ready for my artist. Again, I like to be efficient and smooth during the work process and the workflow. So I'll have those tracks ready for backgrounds, dubs, ad-libs, and whatever else I need it for. And then extras just in case. All right, so that's it. That's it for your 2 audio tracks, our stereo track and our mono track. 1 mono, 1 stereo. Now the other track, 2 tracks I wanted to show you. So we'll do an instrument track next. This is what I wish I would have known when I opened Pro Tools for the first time and started messing around. Is I wish that somebody showed me that I just loaded instrument track, and then I could just start messing around with sounds and playing around and making a beat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that Shift Command N again, but this time where it says audio track, we're gonna click that and we're gonna go down to instrument track. All right, and then for this, cool. All right, now for this we're going to hit mono. We're gonna make it into a stereo track. It just makes things easier when we have instrument tracks in a stereo track. We do not need it in a stereo track, but it's just easier for it to be left and right, and it's a lot wider and bigger that way as well. And this one is ticks. It is not samples. It is ticks. Okay, and we're just doing one, so we're going to hit create. Now we have an instrument track. A good way to kind of visualize, again, efficiency, workflow, being smooth, is being able to identify what tracks are what, because sometimes you'll get a session, you'll look at tracks, and they'll be in a different color coding system than you're used to, and you won't really know what's what. Sometimes they're labeled, sometimes they're not. So this track may be labeled, but it may be a different color. An easy way to tell it's an instrument track is you'll see some MIDI information, which we'll get there in just a second. Like up here, you can see audio, like the waveform. So that's obviously audio, like vocals or guitar or bass or something like that. But down here, you're going to see MIDI information. But you can see the keyboard right here, this little keyboard. And this signifies that it's an instrument track. And so that's a quick way, an easy way to identify what kind of track it is. All right. So now, I also want to point out here too, if you can see it, here it has these little dashes. For an audio track, there's one big dash in the middle. And then on a stereo track, there's two. There's two dashes. All right. So you can identify the tracks that way as well. All right, so now what do we need to do to get an instrument track going? Well, if you downloaded Pro Tools, if you pay month to month, you should have a package, and part of your download package, there is a virtual instrument called Expand 2. Great virtual instrument, tons and tons of sounds and presets of instruments that just, it sounds amazing. It's kind of like, I don't know, a lot of people don't talk about it, but Expand 2 it's fantastic. And a lot of people don't use it, or at least talk about using it as much, and I don't know why not. So how we get that loaded up, how we get Expand 2 loaded up is we're going to go to one of these boxes, one of these rectangular boxes on the instrument track where the white dot is, and we're just going to click there once. And it says multi-channel plugin, not the one that says multi-mono plugin, because remember, we're doing stereo for this one. So we're going to do multi-channel plugin. We're going to come over here to where it says instrument, and we should see something that says Expand 2 here at the bottom. We're going to click that. This is Expand 2. All right, so we're in a good place. We're getting somewhere. Now, the way that we're even going to be able to hear any sound come from this is we have to have either a MIDI keyboard like this one. That is a complete control keyboard from Native Instruments. I really like their stuff. They're pretty popular. They have great MIDI keyboards and great software as well. But if you don't have that, that's fine. Pro Tools has made it easy for you. There's also way smaller ones than that 32 key, I think it is. But there's way smaller ones that are really kind of fit for like your home studio, especially if you're just starting out. You can pick one of those up for sure under $100. And I'll leave a link in the description to some of the stuff that I've seen. So maybe that can help be beneficial for you guys. All right, so to even get anything started on here, we need to do one thing first, and that is arm the track to record. Before we do anything with any track, if we're going to record something and make something on that track, we need to arm the track. How do we do that? We come over here to this white dot that's on the track right below the instrument name. We're going to click it. And then once it's blinking red like that, we know that we're ready to record. Okay, now like I said, to make information or to get MIDI information, to get sound from this track and from this virtual instrument that we have loaded up on here, Expand 2, we need a keyboard to tell it what to do. For Pro Tools, we're going to hit Shift-K. Shift-K is going to bring up this MIDI keyboard, and this is going to allow us to either click these letters with the mouse, or we can hit it on our keyboard and it's going to give us sound. That's what the best part about this is. And again, I wish somebody would have shown me this when I first started. And let's just, let's give it a try. Let's hit the letter A. All right, cool. We have sound going. Now, before I get to, let's choose a different sound, but I'm going to say that this Z and X, so if I hit Z, it shows you that I hit it. Each time I hit it, there's X, X, Z, Z. Brings it up an octave and down an octave. So now if I hit A, oh yeah, it gets a lot lower. And then we'll go back up. All right, so you can play with that too. And then velocity is just like how hard it hits. It's called the attack. So the lower we go on the velocity, the less of an attack we're going to have. So it won't be so punchy right when we hit the key. Like, it'll be smoother. So like when I hit that, and then if I go back up to 100, it's going to have like this kind of punch to it right when I hit the key, as compared to when it's lower, it won't be as punchy. I'm going to give you a better example on a different type of instrument because that one was not the best example. So let's go over here. We're going to look. We can either choose our instruments from going up here to factory default, and it has all the software instruments here. And this is a great place to look at it too, but we have another location as well. So right here on channel A, we can also click where it says Bright Pads 001 beneath the waves. We can click on this, and it also gives us our library and our presets. So what I would suggest is do the one that's easiest for you, do what's best for you, do what works for you. I like to look at this one because it's easier on my eyes, I guess. I don't know if that's just me getting old or what, but it's just easier. So let's go with the bass, and let's go with, Devil's Sink. Cool. All right, so let's put this velocity, like I was just saying, back at 100, and we're going to hit this key and see what it sounds like. All right, so see how it kind of punches, dun, 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 dun. All right, so now if you turn down the velocity, that dun, 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 dun won't be as present. It'll be a lot smoother. Right? And then now when I go back up to 100, you're going to hear that kind of punch come back into play. Again, it's called the attack. Let's see. So yeah, so you can play with that and then play around with these sounds. Man, there's hundreds and hundreds of sounds in here, and it's great. And a lot of them are just, like I said, this plugin is underrated for sure. A lot of people don't talk about it as much. Don't overlook this. It's a great plugin and a great virtual instrument. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to disarm this track. Actually, you know what? Let's record something real quick. So let's come up here. I'm going to move this so you can see. Get my beautiful face out of the way. We're going to hit the record button here, but before we can actually record, we're going to have to hit the green button, the green arrow button, play, and then it should start recording. And I'm going to put the stereo track that we were hearing earlier, this one, put that on mute so we don't have to listen to that. And now that this is still armed, we're going to hit play. And now you can see on the screen that it's recording, and we are going to make some sounds. Ooh, see what I did? I forgot to put my keyboard back up. All right, let's see. All right, so now, let's see, we get to, see, now I got to take that away. See if we can zoom in, see if we can hear this. We'll click right there. Ooh, there it is, full effect. All right, so now let's disarm this track. I'm gonna go ahead and mute this track. We don't need that. And then last but not least, we're gonna add a master track and a master fader. Now, why is this important? It's really not that important, but why and how is this useful and beneficial? It allows you to control all the tracks that are in your session. So all the tracks that are in your session are going to be routed to this master fader, this master track, allowing you to be able to control the volume of the whole entire session. All right, so let's do our shortcut or come up to track. Remember, it's Command-Shift-N to bring this up. And we're going to go to where it says audio track, and we're going to go master fader. And then we're going to go here, and we're going to go to stereo. And we just need one of these samples, and then we're just going to leave it called master because that's what it is. It's the master. All right. And then I like the color. I keep it this color. It's just kind of default, and I've always kept it that way. So yeah. So now when I play something, actually, I don't know why I muted that. We'll play this, and then I'll show you. It's gonna you're gonna see the little lights right here, the meter. You're gonna see it light up here and down here. Now, if I mute it, see how the master fader, it just went away. Now, again, that's useful when you're in post-production and mixing, or even during a session when you're recording. being able to control all the volume and the overall sound of all the tracks that are in your session. Matter if it's 2 tracks, 10 tracks, 50 tracks, a million tracks, whatever it is. That master fader will give you the ability to control the volume on all the tracks cohesively. All right, so that can come in very handy if you want to use that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save this session, which is Command S. Go ahead and save that Pro Tools intro tutorial. And yeah, I hope you guys found this video useful and beneficial. Hopefully it helps you get used to Pro Tools a little bit more. I'm going to drop some more content coming up soon. Let me know if there's anything specifically or particular that you want to see me go over. I'd be more than happy to. I will be dropping content on mixing, recording, using my gear, software plugins, recording drums, my monitors, my microphones, everything. Anything that I can do to pay it forward, give back to the community. I've learned a lot from YouTube. I've learned a lot from other people as well, but YouTube has been very beneficial and helpful to me. So I want to pay it back and pay it forward. So please drop something in the comments. Let me know if there's something you want to learn or see specifically, and I will definitely see what I can do. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Please like, follow, subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. Again, my name is Preston James at the Laughing Buddha Recording Studio. Something we like to say here is do what you got to do to get to where you want to be so you can do what you want to do. Again, do what you got to do to get to where you want to be so you can do what you want to do. All right, you guys, much love. Again, appreciate it. Please like, follow, subscribe. Appreciate you. Much love. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for stopping by.